Day number 11 of the 12 days of MLB rankings is here, and wow, have an absolute banger for you. The top 30 starting pitchers in Major League Baseball for the 2024 season. Disclaimer, not every team has a player in today's video because this is the top 30 starting pitchers, just straight up who's the best. And the second disclaimer, if you're gonna miss like more than half the year or the entire season, guys like Jacob deGrom, Sandy Alcantara, I'm not ranking you. We know you're top pitchers, but you're not pitching this season. Can't put you inside this top 30 right now because you're not going to be a part of the 2024 season. So keep that in mind when you don't see like a Shane McClanahan on here. Otherwise, these are the top 30 pitchers in the game. Expect these guys to be out there when they're healthy. Got a really deep pool of pitchers. A fun list. This one was so hard to come up with because there's about 50 pitchers that were fighting for 30 spots. So I really do want to see you get in the comment section down below and let me know what you're thinking about this one because this was arguably the hardest ranking I had to make this year. Remember to subscribe to the channel because there's one day left of the 12 days of rankings. The top 50 players in the league dropping tomorrow on Christmas Day. Shout out to everybody watching this. I really do appreciate the amazing support you've shown. And without further ado, let's get going into these top 30 pitchers. Getting the top 30 started at number 30, I've got Dylan Cease of the Chicago White Sox. Down a few spots, Dylan Cease just really hasn't been as sharp as he was a few years ago in his breakout season. Now, I still think Dylan Cease is a very good pitcher, and I still think Dylan Cease has great stuff. As soon as he leaves the White Sox, you know this guy's going to pop off. But last year definitely was a bit disappointing. A 4.58 ERA in 177 innings with a whip at 1.418 and a FIP at 3.72. Cease's K rate was down for the second straight season to 27%, walking over 10% of the batters he faced. While he did have a lot of ups and downs, it felt like there were more downs than there were ups in previous years, which is why I have to bump him down a few spots, even though we do know that Dylan Cease is still a very good pitcher. Next up at number 29, I've got Grayson Rodriguez of the Baltimore Orioles. Being really aggressive with Grayson Rodriguez here. For the season last year in 122 innings, doesn't really tell the full story. A 4.3 ERA with a whip at 1.336 and a FIP at 3.9 with a 25% K rate and an 8% walk rate. But once Grayson got the call back up in July, from that moment on, he was absolutely disgusting. In the final 13 starts of the season, Grayson Rodriguez had a 2.58 ERA, an opponent OPS of 590, with a K rate at 24%, a walk rate at 6.9%. Nice. Rodriguez was just so much better. He dropped the cutter, and he's only 24 years old in that ballpark in Baltimore. A lot of high hopes for Grayson Rodriguez, who has a really good repertoire with some great stuff. Keeping it with the young arms at number 28, I've got Bobby Miller of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Bobby Miller's stuff is absolutely electric. A fastball that runs up in the 100-mile-per-hour range. Devastating breaking balls. Like, he has some of the nastiest stuff that a starting pitcher has in Major League Baseball. It's weird because results-wise, it didn't really match the stuff, but he also was only 24 years old in his rookie season. He ended up being one of the better pitchers for the Dodgers down the stretch. 124 innings, a 3.76 ERA with a whip at 1.1 and a FIP at 3.51, striking out 23.6% of the batters he faced, walking 6.3%. With Grayson and Bobby, there's a little bit more projecting going on, wanting to be ahead of them because these are going to be top 25, top 30 pitchers for sure next year as long as they're healthy. And a guy like Bobby Miller with the nasty stuff that he has, really high expectations for him. For the 27th best pitcher in Major League Baseball, newly acquired St. Louis Cardinals, Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray is just a pitcher, man. He doesn't throw 98 miles an hour, doesn't have the filthiest of pitches, but when you watch him on the mound, he really is just pitching. And last year was a great year with the Twins in 32 starts, 184 innings, a 2.79 ERA with a Major League best 2.83 FIP, a whip at 1.147. He let up almost no home runs last season, striking out 24.3% of the batters he's faced, walking 7.3%. He was really in control on the mound all season long. He doesn't go as deep into games as maybe you would like from the conventional ace, but going to St. Louis, playing behind that defense in that ballpark, I think Sonny Gray is going to be awesome for the Cardinals this upcoming season, coming off of arguably the best season of Sonny Gray's career. Just missing on the top 25 at number 26, I've got Justin Steele of the Chicago Cubs. Justin Steele, low-key, just a really good pitcher. Second straight season of an ERA in the low threes. You're looking at a guy last year who made 30 starts, 173 innings pitched with a 3.06 ERA, a FIP at 3.02, and a whip at 1.17, striking out 24.6% of the batters he faced, walking only 5%, which is such a huge deal to be able to limit the base runners like that, because Justin Steele's stuff doesn't jump off the page at you, but his fastball for some reason is unhittable. That slider is absolutely filthy. He limits hard contact. They don't put the ball in the air for home runs very often, and he gets guys to chase. Like, Justin Steele may not be the most sexy pitcher to watch pitch, but he gets the job done consistently. In the top 25 start at number 25, New York Mets starting pitcher Kodai Senga. Wow, Senga was so awesome last year. Legitimately has the best pitch in baseball right now with the Ghost form. fork. Nobody could touch it. The K rate on that pitch was insane, and it was one of the reasons why he was able to be so successful. That one wipeout pitch allowed for the development of his other pitches like his fastball, his cutter, his sweeper over the season. That gave him numbers over the season of a 2.98 ERA over 166 innings pitched, with a FIP at 3.63, a WHIP at 1.22, a strikeout rate of 29.1%. He does walk a little more than you'd like, 11.1%. There's no doubt there. He's not perfect, but what Kodai Senga was able to do in his first season in Major League Baseball was extremely impressive. There will be regression. I don't think he's going to have a sub-3 ERA again, but that ghost fork makes him one of the better pitchers in the game automatically, while having the ability to throw 98-99 with his fastball. Kyle Bradish of the Baltimore Orioles up next at the number 24 spot. Bradish, what an awesome season, a breakout in 2023. Huge reason why the Orioles were able to be so successful. Bradish finished fourth in the Cy Young voting in 168 innings last season to a 2.83 ERA, a WHIP at 1.043, which is awesome, and a FIP at 3.27. And again, for those of you who aren't aware, FIP is fielder independent pitching, one of the more important stats because it takes away the defensive plays behind you and rates you solely on what you're able to control. And Bradish was really good at that. A 25% K rate, a 6.6% walk rate. Bradish has one of the best sliders in all of Major League Baseball, and it was devastating to hitters last year. He basically had only 2 or 3 bad starts last season. Bradish was a stud, a top 25 pitcher in the game for sure. For the 23rd best pitcher in Major League Baseball, heading out to the Pacific Northwest to talk about Logan Gilbert of the Seattle Mariners. Logan Gilbert quietly was nasty again last year. Second straight season of over 180 innings pitched, a 3.73 ERA with a FIP at 3.85. Might not sound the most enticing, but he had that whip down to a career low at 1.075. He struck out 24.6% of the batters he faced, walking only 4.7. He's got like 4 different pitches. That fastball can run up to the mid to high 90s with a absolutely wipeout slider. The dude's got some of the best extension in Major League Baseball, which makes it even tougher on hitters. Just really like Logan Gilbert from a pitching standpoint. Does a lot of things really well. A guy who we're kind of all waiting for that next step with him because everything there from the back end looks nasty. Waiting for that pop off to be one of the better pitchers in baseball, like a top 10 guy. Very aggressive ranking here at number 22. I'm going with Eury Perez of the Miami Marlins. In the 91 innings we saw Eury Perez pitch last year, he was filthy. Absolutely filthy. The dude is 6'8". He's basically touching you when he releases the ball. He's kind of like a unicorn right now in Major League Baseball. There's not many guys like him. At 20 years old last season in 91 innings, 3.15 ERA with a whip at 1.128, a FIP at 4.11 wasn't great, but he was rocking a 29% K rate with an 8% walk rate as a 20-year-old rookie. The guy had all the prospect hype and lived up to it. He is going to be an ace one day. He arguably is the ace of the Marlins right now because of Sandy Alcantara's injury. Not excited to face Eury Perez for the foreseeable future because this guy on the mound is just disgusting. Just one spot ahead of him at number 21, I've got Eury Perez's teammate, Jesus Luzardo. It finally happened. Jesus Luzardo had his breakout season. He was healthy. He pitched well. He looked great. Now, as a Mets fan, wasn't particularly happy, but as a fan of baseball and Jesus Luzardo's, happy for him. 178 innings pitched last year, a 3.58 ERA with a FIP at 3.55 and a WHIP at 1.251. Luzardo had career highs in almost every category, a 28.1% K rate with a 7.4% walk rate. There was times last year where Jesus Luzardo was just straight up unhittable. Over 200 strikeouts. Finally, this is a guy who always had the prospect hype and the prospect pedigree, but had never been able to put it together for a full season, and we saw it last year. So big for the Marlins, so big for this guy's career. He's still only 26 years old. Luzardo's got electric stuff, and it finally played last season. Getting the top 20 start at number 20, gotta go with Framber Valdez of the Houston Astros. You gotta respect Framber Valdez. All this guy does is go out every single day, give you 6 innings of quality baseball, win you ball games, and force you to pound the ball into the ground. After an awesome 2022, Framber was worse last year, but actually he was also very, very good. It wasn't really a problem. 198 innings, a 3.45 ERA with 2 complete game shutouts, a 1.126 WHIP with a FIP at 3.50, finished 9th in the Cy Young voting, made the All-Star team. He bumped up the K rate to 24.8%, bumped down the walk rate to 7.1, basically career bests for him. And again, what makes Framber so difficult is the fact that you just can't lift the ball against this guy. The ground ball rate was still through the roof. With that improved K rate, Framber had a great season, one of the best pitchers in baseball, got him in the top 20. Coming down a little bit in today's rankings at number 19, I've got Aaron Nola of the Philadelphia Phillies. I love Aaron Nola. I think this dude is an absolute stud on the mound, but the numbers last year weren't particularly great, even though I think it was a bit of a fluke. In 193 innings last year, Nola had a 4.46 ERA with a whip at 1.151 and a FIP at 4.03. None of those numbers really jump off the page as being great, but coming off of a season where Nola finished fourth in the Cy Young, with the way that his stuff grades, the fact that he's just going to lock in for 180 to 200 innings every single season is so valuable. Still rocked the 25% K rate with a 5.7% walk rate. Like, even in a bad year, Nola was still good. And we know that Phillies defense behind him really wasn't doing him any favors in that ballpark either. I think he's going to bounce back again this season. He got his contract. He's comfortable. He is one of the top 20 pitchers in the game still. One spot ahead of Nola at number 18, I've got Max Fried of the Atlanta Braves. Braves fans, I already see you crying in the comment section, but let's be honest, Max Fried is one of the 20 best pitchers in baseball, just not in that elite category like you might think. Last year, of course, due to some injury stuff, Max Fried did only throw 77 innings, to which he had a 2.55 ERA, a whip at 1.133, and a FIP at 3.14. 25.7% K rate, 5.8% walk rate. Max Fried is a very good pitcher. He's another guy who, is a pitcher. He has great control. He has really solid stuff. But is he one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball inside the top 10? No. But in this range right here from 18 to 15, I totally buy it. Always seems to step up when the Braves need him. The dude is really good. For the 17th best pitcher in Major League Baseball, heading out west to the San Diego Padres to talk about Joe Musgrove. Musgrove, again, was nasty. If it wasn't for dropping a weight on his toe, we would have been talking probably about the third straight season where Joe Musgrove went 180 innings with a 3 ERA, a whip in the low ones, a FIP at 3.5. He just consistently has been a very, very good pitcher since going to San Diego. But, of course, he did drop that weight on his toe, so he only pitched in 97 innings, still had a 3.05 ERA, a FIP at 3.52, and a whip at 1.14. Striking out 24.3% of the batters he faced, walking only 5.3%. Crazy high chase rates, crazy high whiff rates. Musgrove is just a really hard pitcher to get good contact on. He's super solid. Right in the middle of the pack here at 17. Similarly, with not a lot of innings last year, at number 16, I've got Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. Skubal was nasty last year. There's no way around it. He was filthy. In 15 starts, 80 innings, a 2.8 ERA with a whip at .896. Wow. A FIP at 2.00. So they were like, hey, you pitched even better than your numbers told you. He was striking out 32.9% of the batters he faced, walking only 4.5%. Tariq Skubal has the opportunity to be one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball next year. With the Detroit Tigers in that ballpark, it's a match made in heaven, a 50% ground ball rate. There's nothing not to like about Tariq Skubal. This dude's legit. We just didn't see it over an extended period of time for a guy who's never really thrown that many innings in his career. So we had to take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt with a guy who definitely has the potential to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. Right at the halfway point here at number 15, I've got Freddie Peralta of the Milwaukee Brewers. Peralta just quietly had another great season. Career high in innings pitched last season, 165, to which he had a 3.86 ERA, a whip at 1.117, and a FIP at 3.85. What you love about Peralta, gets crazy swings and misses, a 30.9% K rate with a 7.9% walk rate, gave him one of the better K to walk ratios in the entirety of today's video. Peralta's got really nasty stuff. I mean, we've seen him be a top pitcher in the league before, and while the ERA was a little bit higher than maybe you would expect from a frontline starter, Peralta's got the stuff that makes you believe it's going to be even better next year. For the 14th best pitcher in Major League Baseball, Zack Eflin of the Tampa Bay Rays. You guys aware of how good Zack Eflin was last year? He was disgusting with the Rays. He finished 6th in the Cy Young voting quietly, 177 and 2/3 innings, a 3.5 ERA with an American League best 16 wins. Not a wins guy, but still, just worth noting. A FIP at 3.01, a whip at 1.024. Eflin struck out 26.5% of the batters he faced, walking only 3.4% with a ground ball rate of almost 50%. Eflin was dominant from every aspect you'd ever want to see from a pitcher. These were the most innings he'd ever thrown in a season for his entire career, finally looking truly healthy. The Rays gave this guy money. They never give anybody money, and even still, is an absolute bargain. 3 years, $40 million. Zack Eflin's one of the best pitchers in baseball. Who saw this coming? For the 13th best pitcher in Major League Baseball, despite never throwing a pitch in Major League Baseball, that's going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I know what a lot of you are saying. This feels like an aggressive rating for a guy who's literally never pitched in Major League Baseball, but with the data, with the information that we have on Yamamoto, with what we saw him do in the MPB, I think this is a pretty fair spot. He has a filthy fastball. He has filthy breaking balls. Everything that Yoshinobu Yamamoto does points points to the fact that he has the ability to be one of the best pitchers in baseball as soon as next season. Now, would I be surprised if he struggles in his first major league season? No. It happens for a lot of Japanese pitchers. But the stuff is just so disgusting that I don't really care. He's crazy good. There's a reason he is the highest paid pitcher ever without ever throwing a pitch here. In the MPB, since 2021, he has an ERA at like 1.2. Like, what are we talking about? That's fake. A whip under 1 at 0.87 for the last 3 seasons. Yamamoto is just so disgusting. $325 million from the Dodgers. Absolutely hate them, but also, wow, kind of sick that this guy got that money. He's going to be a stud. Next up, at the number 12 spot, I've got Pablo Lopez of the Minnesota Twins. Throw some respect on Pablo Lopez's name. He was phenomenal last year for the Minnesota Twins. 194 innings, 3.66 ERA, a whip at 1.155, and a FIP at 3.33, finishing 7th in the Cy Young voting, striking out 29.2% of the batters he faced, by far a career high, walking only 6%. Like, goodness, Pablo Lopez was filthy last year with the Twins. And he was also really good with the Marlins before that, so to see him improve upon his game is just even more crazy. What's nuts too is that he had some really awful starts to start the year, but after June 1st, we saw Pablo Lopez throw 122 innings with a 3.15 ERA. He was filthy. He was dominant in the second half. So maybe it's a little bit of a surprise for you to see this guy ranked so highly, but Pablo Lopez deserves to be here. One of the better pitchers in baseball. Just outside the top 10, at number 11, I've got George Kirby of the Seattle Mariners. Love George Kirby. Had an awesome season last year, finishing 8th in the Cy Young voting, making the All-Star team. A Major League best strikeout to walk ratio of 9.05 in 190 innings, a 3.35 ERA with a whip at 1.038 and a FIP at 3.34. He's not going to have the crazy strikeout numbers, only struck out 22.7% of the batters, which is, by the way, still technically better than MLB average. But here's where George Kirby is elite. He walked only 2.5% of the batters he faced last year. Nobody gets on base against this guy. Soft contact king. George Kirby is a really, really different pitcher than what we see towards the top of this list typically, because he attacks you with location, he attacks you with a bunch of different pitches, and you just don't hit the ball that hard against him, and you don't get to get on base for free. Kirby's an awesome pitcher. Got to throw some respect on his name. Just outside the top 10 though, because getting the top 10 started at number 10, newly acquired Los Angeles Dodger, Tyler Glasnow. God, the Dodgers are so good. Tyler Glasnow is so good. He's going to be there for the foreseeable future. Last year in 120 innings, weirdly the most in his major league career. A 3.53 ERA doesn't fully paint the picture here because the FIP had him as low as 2.91, a whip at 1.083. Glasnow struck out 33.4% of the batters he faced, walking only 7.6%. Like, there is no doubt when this guy is healthy, he is one of the most talented pitchers in Major League Baseball. The stuff is that of video games. It's electric. Throwing 98, 99 miles an hour with a slider that is quite literally untouchable at times. So yeah, am I being aggressive for a guy who's only thrown a max of 120 innings in his career? For sure. But I'm banking on Tyler Glasnow being healthy, and if he is, he's so easily one of the best pitchers in the game. The 9th best pitcher in Major League Baseball, got another Seattle Mariner on today's video. That's going to be Luis Castillo. Man, going to Seattle has been such a godsend for Luis Castillo's career. Went from one of the least pitcher-friendly parks to playing in Seattle, where he has been dominant. Finished 5th in the Cy Young voting last year, 197 innings, a 3.34 ERA with a whip at 1.096 and a FIP at 3.81. Striking out 27% of the batters he faced, walking only 7%. He's not as much of a ground ball pitcher as he was in Cincinnati, but that's probably just the Mariners being like, hey, you have electric stuff. Go out there, throw 97, get the swings and misses for us, get the fly balls, it plays better here. And I mean, he's just been awesome with the Mariners in 2 seasons, where he has a 3.29 ERA with them. That fastball changeup slider combination that Luis Castillo has been rocking has been devastating, and at 31 years old, he's in his prime. This guy's one of the best pitchers in baseball, no doubt. Next up at number 8, we've got National League Cy Young Award winner last year, Blake Snell, not currently signed to a team. It's kind of crazy to say, but Blake Snell's won 2 Cy Young Awards before he turned 31 years old. There's not many pitchers in baseball history who could ever say they won 2 Cy Young Awards, period. When Blake Snell is on and has that kind of season, I mean, he has the ability to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. Last year, 180 innings, 2.25 ERA, the best in the league, with a whip at 1.189 and a FIP at 3.44. Snell struck out 31.5% of the batters he faced, weirdly walking 13%. But yeah, I mean, we've seen this guy stuff. When Blake Snell is on, he is one of the most unhittable pitchers in the game. Was dominant for the Padres last year, one of their few bright spots. His K rate hasn't dropped below 30% since 2017. The weird thing with Blake Snell is he just simply will never go late into games. That's not his thing. He's going to give you 5 to 6 innings of dominant baseball, which is why I still think he might be unsigned right now. Just a weird guy to evaluate. He's won 2 Cy Young Awards, but yet nobody really wants to touch him. I don't know what to do with Blake Snell, but yeah, he's the 8th best pitcher in baseball. Big jump up to the number 7 spot. I've got Logan Webb of the San Francisco Giants. Logan Webb, quietly, 2nd in Cy Young voting this year. I bet you a lot of you didn't know that. 216 innings pitched, the most in Major League Baseball, with 3.25 ERA, a whip at 1.074, and a FIP at 3.16. Logan Webb, obviously elite at getting ground balls and soft contact, rocked a 62% ground ball rate last year, which is pretty incredible, along with a 22.8% K rate, a 3.7% walk rate, which was by far a career low. Logan Webb's a dog on the mound. He's going to make you pound the ball into the ground. He's going to get you to make weak contact, and pitching in San Francisco, a big pitcher's ballpark, so match made in heaven. A guy who's just gotten better and better and better every single season. You got to put Logan Webb inside the top 10. Just outside the top 5, at number 6, I've got Zac Gallen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Shout out Zac Gallen, Jersey boy. And you know what? Shout out Zac Gallen. 2nd straight season, he's finished top 5 in Cy Young voting. He finished 3rd this past year. 210 innings pitched, a 3.47 ERA, with a whip at 1.119 and a FIP at 3.26. Striking out 26% of the batters he faced, walking only 5.6%. Gallen was just straight up one of the best pitchers in baseball, coming off an extremely strong 2022. Working with Brent Strom has clearly taken him to the next level, which is understandable. It's one of the best pitching coaches in baseball. And pitching in Arizona in that division is by no means easy. So for Zac Gallen to have these numbers be as dominant as he is, just like Logan Webb, really shows how good of a pitcher he truly can be. Because getting the top 5 started, at number 5, I of course have Corbin Burnes of the Milwaukee Brewers. Had to bump him down a few. He wasn't as dominant in terms of the swing and miss stuff last year, but still 193 innings, a 3.39 ERA, with a National League best whip at 1.069. Nice. A FIP at 3.81 was a little bit higher than we're accustomed to, but we're now rocking 4 seasons in a row where Corbin Burnes has finished top 8 in the Cy Young voting. I did mention the strikeout rate was a little bit down. It wasn't in the 30% range, but still at 25.5%, very good, with an 8.4% walk rate. Corbin Burnes has that sinker, that cutter, that changeup, that slider. He's got a variety of different pitches that makes him so hard to get a really good read on. And if you look back at his game logs, there was a couple starts where he had some major blowups that really affected his overall ERA for the season. Otherwise, this was a guy who gave you like 160 innings of dominant pitching, and he still finished with a 3.39 ERA. Burnes is a beast. For the 4th best pitcher in Major League Baseball, I've got Zack Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies. Wheeler is just a horse. I mean, 192 innings last season, 3.61 ERA, a whip at 1.078 with a FIP at 3.15. He totally gets hurt by the lack of defense behind him for the Phillies, and even still, 6th in the Cy Young voting. Wheeler is such a workhorse. 26.9% K rate, 5% walk rate was a career low. Like, you just see this guy continuously be one of the better pitchers in baseball for year after year after year now since going to Philadelphia. It pains me as a Mets fan because we had this guy and our idiot agent GM let him walk for absolutely no reason, but the Phillies got a good one. Going into a contract season, I expect Zack Wheeler to be just as dominant, maybe if not better this year. Could be the Cy Young season for Wheeler, who knows? But he's definitely top 5 in the league right now. For the 3rd best pitcher in Major League Baseball, criminally underrated, gotta put Kevin Gausman here. Maybe because he plays north of the border for the Blue Jays. I don't know why Gausman doesn't get as much press as some of these other pitchers, because he's just been dominant the last 3 seasons. And last year, 185 innings with the Blue Jays, a 3.16 ERA, a FIP at 2.97, and a whip at 1.78. Finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting. The 3rd straight year he's finished inside the top 9 of Cy Young voting between the National League and American League. A K rate at 31.1% is just absolutely filthy, with a walk rate at 7.2. That splitter, that fastball, even the slider combination has been so lethal for him. Gausman deserves a lot of respect. This guy has done it year after year after year. 3rd straight season of over 170 innings pitched, and in that time, he's a 3.1 ERA. He's dominant. He's great. Just missing out on the number 1 spot. At number 2, I've got Spencer Strider of the Atlanta Braves. Strider, if we're just talking straight up stuff, has the nastiest stuff in baseball in terms of starting pitchers. Like, there's no doubt about it. He did hit some bumps in the road last year, which made him appear to have a bad ERA, like 3.86, but he won 20 games, the most in Major League Baseball, struck out the most batters in the league at 281, despite only throwing 186 innings, which was by far not the most in the league. He had a National League best FIP 2.85, a whip at 1.093, best K per 9 in the league, finished 4th in the Cy Young voting, 36.8% K rate, 7.6% walk rate. I like to have fun with Spencer Strider, make jokes about him because he's a Clemson guy, so I double hate him, and because he complained about the Mets getting cheap hits, saying that they got lucky, which, I mean, he was kind of right. But I mean, you've watched this guy pitch. That fastball-slider combination is two of the best pitches in all of baseball. Pumping 100 miles an hour. Strider is disgusting. Second best pitcher in the league, though, because, of course, coming in at number 1, the American League Cy Young Award winner, Gerrit Cole of the New York Yankees. Yeah, Gerrit Cole finally gets the number 1 spot. This guy, talk about a workhorse. Since 2017, including a COVID season, Gerrit Cole is averaging 183 innings per year. The only time he hasn't thrown over 180 innings was the COVID season last year in 209 innings, the most in the American League. An American League best 2.63 ERA with a whip at .981, the best in all of Major League Baseball, a FIP at 3.16, an American League best ERA plus at 165. Hasn't finished outside the top 9 of the Cy Young voting since 2018 with the Astros. He even got MVP votes last year. A 27% K rate was a little bit lower than we were accustomed to seeing, but he still didn't give up any walks, a 5.9% walk rate. You guys have watched Gerrit Cole pitch. I mean, he's no longer the sticky stuff merchant. He's just simply one of the best pitchers in the league. It pains me to say it. It pains me to put a Yankee at number 1, but it'd be crazy to have anybody not named Gerrit Cole at number 1. You could argue for Spencer Strider, but if these aren't your top 2 right now in Major League Baseball, I don't know what game you're watching. I don't know what you want out of your pitchers. Gerrit Cole's so dominant. He's the best pitcher in baseball. So there they are, my top 30 pitchers in Major League Baseball for the 2024 season. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking down in the comment section below. Is Gerrit Cole number 1? Should Yoshinobu Yamamoto even be ranked? I want to know what you're thinking, so type it down in the comment section. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, as well as subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you. Follow me on all my social media at GiraffeNeckMarc, links in the description, as well as a big shout out to my editor, Cole. He's got a YouTube channel called No More Fielders. I'm going to link it in the description down below. Make sure you guys go support him. He's been doing an insane amount of work making sure that these videos are ready for you every single day, but definitely go show him some love. One more day left, the top 50 players in Major League Baseball tomorrow, so remember to be subscribed so you don't miss that. Otherwise, you guys know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this. I mean, it's going to be a 12 days of MLB rankings video, so click through that one if you haven't seen it. And this will be a playlist to the 12 days of MLB rankings in case you missed any of them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate the amazing support, and I'll see you all tomorrow on Christmas Day for the top 50 players in the league.